'cause I'm working for a living.
Man, it is big in here. It's easy to get lost. It's not like the last time we worked here.
Last time? What are you talking about? We've never worked here.
Yeah, don't you remember we... Really don't think we should do this.
Look, let's stop wasting time. I need my coffee. What's the worst that could happen?
Do not turn knob. Knob turns off power to entire island and sends a warning signal to the dinosaurs letting them know they can get out of their cages and wreak havoc on the island.
Again, what's the worst that could happen?
Luckily, we blamed the whole tragedy on that nerdy computer guy, Nedry, and got off scot-free. Well, except for my whole leg being eaten by one of those raptor things.
Okay, we get it. I'm the biggest loser ever.
Whoa, calm down, man. Okay, you have made some mistakes, like, blowing up the Death Star while we were on it, and fighting that Harry Potter guy and losing, which resulted in us losing our jobs, and, well, of course, the whole my leg getting eaten thing.
Nah, I don't feel bad about that anymore.
Maybe you should a little bit.
Listen, I'm just frustrated because all the scientists around here are trying to get me fired.
What? Why?
Petty jealousy. They know I'm the most useful guy around here.
Okay, we've been over this a lot before, so I don't possibly see how you got to that conclusion, but explain.
Well, you know how nowadays everybody's bored with the same old plain dinosaurs and they want these genetically modified killing machines?
Yeah, I mean, the old ones were made in 1993, and new and bigger is always better.
Well, I'm the guy who came up with the idea for this new dino they're showing off. Okay, well, not that one exactly, but the prototypes.
Prototypes? Come on, Rod.
No, seriously. I came up with this one idea that was a T-Rex mixed with a cheetah mixed with a gorilla. I called it the Murderosaurus Rex.
Murderosaurus Rex? That sounds like a terrible idea.
Now you're starting to sound like those boring ethical scientists. I'm looking for something more mind-blowing, like a Triceratops mixed with a demon ninja. I call it the Apocalyptodon.
Apocalyptodon?
Yeah, because its birth would bring about the apocalypse. But they didn't like that one either. So then I came up with my best idea, okay? It was a pterodactyl mixed with Optimus Prime. I called it Deathatronodactyl.
Do you even hear yourself? All your ideas come back to everyone being eaten or dying.
Well, it's not like they're doing much better. I mean, the one they just created, escape containment, and it's heading this way.
What? We gotta get out of here, man. Keep your eyes peeled.
It won't do any good. It can camouflage itself, which I thought was a bit of an overkill, but they did it anyway. And so now they're trying to blame all this on me because I'm the one who taught it how to avoid thermal detection so it could escape.
What? Why would you do that, Rod? What are you doing?
Oh, just keep piling it on. I know I'm the biggest loser ever, and now these guys are just going to ruin my life. Life over.
Okay, I know you're probably exaggerating right now, but you realize that if this dinosaur actually escaped, your life is probably actually over.
I know, and after they write the horrible review, my career is going to be killed.
You're still not getting it. You shouldn't be worried about your career right now.
You know, and I don't even know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And with the job market the way it is, and you destroy one little tropical island full of tourists, and HR department eats you for lunch. I mean, they chew you up, spit you out.
Do you even hear what you're saying? Oh, man. Nice knowing your other leg.
Now, have you ever been in a situation before where you've said, my life is over, this is just the worst? Now, if you're listening to this, you know what I can say for sure. Your life wasn't over. And unlike Rod and Barry, you weren't on the edge of being eaten by a genetically modified dinosaur either. Now, I'm not trying to lighten whatever situation you were in was, but because sometimes you weren't exaggerating, right? Sometimes there are things we go through and they actually feel like our life, as we know it, is over. Nothing will ever be the same again. In fact, a few months ago, we did a series talking about what it's like to live in those kind of situations. But today, we're continuing to look at the life of this guy named Paul, a guy who God used to do amazing things in our world. In fact, he started a ton of churches and wrote more of the New Testament than anybody else. And we're looking at what God can do in the life of one person who's willing to do whatever God asks them to. And unlike Rod, your usefulness probably has nothing to do with creating genetically modified Murderosaurus Rexes. Sorry. But as you go through life, following God and being used by Him, there are going to be times when things don't go your way. life gets hard. In fact, that's just a fact with or without God. Life can get hard. Bad things happen. We can get in difficult circumstances. And when we're following God and those things happen, we can often wonder, why? Why is this happening to me? I'm doing the right things. Well, Paul faced this too. As Paul preached about Jesus and started churches, not everyone liked it. And he was thrown in jail, whipped, beaten. He was even at one point shipwrecked. And in the midst of all this, Paul keeps doing the right thing. He keeps following God, keeps preaching, keeps starting churches, and eventually he writes these words. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. In all things, even in these bad things, God is still working. God is still up to something. I may not be able to see it now. I may not be able to see it in this lifetime. There's going to come a day when everything makes sense, when I'll be able to see how God was still working in me and working through me, using me to still make good come out of it. What Paul knows is that God can make good come out of bad. And Paul was able to use his bad circumstances to reach even more people for God. He was able to inspire churches and Christ followers to keep following God when times are tough. And God can still use you when things are hard. You might be able to help others who are going through a similar tough time. You might be able to be an encouragement. And you can always still tell others about God's love. Never forget that God is still working in the midst of your difficult circumstance. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. How God can still use us, how God is still working even when it feels like everything is falling apart around us. So talk about that in your groups, and then we'll move on.